Well, hey, friends, it is TexAgs Rewind, David Nuno and Billy Liucci. Is that me?
Unfortunately.
How'd you play me?
I don't know, man. You just in my phone. You're always in my phone or on my computer. Like, I can't shake you.
No, that makes me happy.
Bothering me at the gym, critiquing my form. I can't get rid of it.
Well, the one thing I'll say about that is I've moved on. I have others tell you that your form is bad, like the GM at the place we work at. He told me to tell you. Yeah, so, but hey.
He did not.
He was there. He corrected
Nuno's
you.
this guy that, like, I've talked to the people at the gym about. And by the way, you're letting out where we're working out on air, and I'm getting texts about people wanting to start working out with us.
I didn't say
we're gonna have Zane wants to.
Well, he works with us.
My buddy Mike Shaw, who would lift you under the table.
That's fine. I want to work out with somebody better than me finally.
Well, no, I love Shaw, but we're not working out 5 deep. We're not going to be those guys.
No, we have a different schedule too.
I saw it. I see that we're not going in wolf packs to work out.
No.
We're not gym bros.
No.
We're in and out. We're in and out. Hey, but you're over here advertising.
I didn't say where.
Anyway.
People figure it out.
You're advertising the show.
Sorry. So you love talking about scrimmage reports. That's your favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so we talk about the scrimmage.
Not a fan. But we do it. And I reluctantly said a lot.
You did say a lot. You did.
For a scrimmage that no one was at.
That's on there. We did 22 and 22. Rueben Fatheree. He's an athlete. I bet you knew that. Not Brently Carmine. Why does it say Brently Carmine? We talked to,
Carmine. Do you know what movie Carmine Scarpaglia is from?
No, where's he from? Tell me. Please tell me. I'd like to know.
I forget the name. That's Carmine Scarpaglia.
Who? Tell me.
It's from, I'm not telling you. Someone's going to text in.
Well,
whoever texts
Romine.
in wins a shirt. Whoever wins text in wins the TexAgs shirt.
All right, this is the worst rewind we've ever done. But Brently Romine from NBC Sports.
Might be the best.
Yeah, this is true. I thank you for bringing me back.
I don't remember like too many good ones. What, do you think the one when Gabe jumped in was good? Was that your number one?
I forgot we did
when Gabe creepily was like hanging on your shoulder and you were kind of going like.
No, you're a little too close, bro. We also had an update on Aggies in the NFL. It is TexAgs Rewind. OB. Who be number 5?
Rueben Fatheree.
Deuce. When he got into the starting lineup last year, it made such a huge difference. Then they became a unit.
Yeah, they excuse me. They that offensive line started to solidify once he took over that right tackle spot. I think his first start was against Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
But after that game, the offense was pretty good. And I'm not putting it all on him, but he was a big part of that. He gave up, if I recall correctly, 1 sack the entire year. 1. And that's for a true freshman, getting in the starting lineup. That's remarkable. And again, I go back to the Alabama game when Will, what's his name? The best player in college football. Huh?
Will Anderson.
The Alabama was looking hard. How are we going to stop A&M on those last 2 drives? They've been moving Will Anderson all around to get the best matchups all through the game.
Yep.
And on those last 2 drives, they put Will Anderson, hey, let's put him on the freshman. And Will Anderson didn't do anything.
He didn't. Let's hope that happens again.
He
this
got
year.
Stonewalled on the game-tying touchdown pass.
Let's just hope he does it again. Let's just hope we can neutralize that guy. He's a very good
great player.
Great player.
He's a great player. They say he's maybe the first player taken in the NFL draft. Will Anderson, all those things. But when the game was on the line twice, not just in 1 series, 2 series in a row, he was a non-factor.
Yep.
And a big reason for that, the main reason for that was Rueben Fatheree blocked him.
Yeah. Rueben is such a stud. We're going to have a lot more on Rueben Fatheree here when Billy joins the show in the 10 o'clock hour. But I do want to leave it with this thought. When that dude's on there, his run blocking, you can see it. If you go watch, I was on YouTube yesterday just looking for Rueben Fatheree plays, and the easiest way to do that is to just choose a Devon A-Chain or Isaiah Spiller big run, and you can see many times it's going right through his hole, and he's pushing through. When the Aggies are running the ball well, typically, the entire line did a nice job last year, but Rueben Fatheree pushes the pack back.
Well, I think they're going to be running to the right side a lot this year.
As they should.
because the number 6 player on the list was Layden Robinson. The number 5 player on the list is Rueben Fatheree. So I would think I would run I'm not going to spoil it, but I think I'd run one of my top 5 running backs, behind those 2 guys. Yeah.
Landon on the A&B text line, OB's man crush on Deuce is a real thing.
Well, I just admire great play.
Yeah.
And
real recognizes real.
And you know what? Yeah. You know what? The only thing about Rueben I worry about, and I shouldn't, but he's just such a nice person.
Right.
Does he have that? I mean, he plays technically sound, and he's really good. And like you said, he knocks people off the ball. But you wonder sometimes, does he just have that real nasty element to him that sometimes you want from an offensive lineman?
50. Tomas Romo joins us with his weekly Aggies in the NFL update. During the preseason, we get a lot of these updates. You got a few names for us to talk about.
I do have a few names for you. We talked about Isaiah Spiller last week. We talked about how, he got 10 carries, didn't really go anything on the stat sheet. It was like 30 yards, I believe it was. But this week we saw the exact opposite. He only had 3 carries. And there's been a lot of talk about him having a really good training camp.
Yep.
And I think him getting less carries than some of these other experienced guys that have been on the Chargers for a couple of years, it's a good look. Joshua Kelly, he's been in the NFL for a while. He led the team in carries against the Cowboys this past weekend. Isaiah Spiller saw the least amount of carries out of all those guys. So for me, I think the Chargers are going to try and utilize him in this season. They like what they see. They don't need him to get hurt. They don't want to jeopardize a guy they see as their solid RB2. And like we talked about last week, who knows? Austin Eckler, injury prone. Spiller might have to step into a bigger role eventually.
Yeah, they took him high enough that you would expect him to get some looks this year.
Buddy Johnson, again, having a really solid game.
Love me some Buddy.
He had 2 tackles, and he's a guy that, I watched a little bit of the highlights for the Jacksonville Steelers game just on YouTube, and he makes plays that necessarily don't really fill up on the stat sheet. He's in certain places letting this other guy make the tackle, or because he is doing this, another guy's able to get his hand on the ball. It's those little things that I watch when he's on the field where he's not going to jump out on the stat sheet, but he's been a very effective player so far for the Steelers.
He makes plays that coaches notice, right? That at the end of the day, when you're trying to get a spot, keep yourself on the roster, whatever it may be, you got to do those plays that open it up for everybody else.
Kellen Mond, not his best performance, 10 of 20, 82 yards, 2 interceptions. It was really a rough game for the Vikings in general. Him and Sean Mannion played. They lost 17-7 against the 49ers. But I think it's a whole thing with Kellen Mond we talked about. We've seen the flashiness. We've seen the potential there. And then there's sometimes we take that step back, and it's just being consistent. And I really do think he'll figure it out.
How did Mannion look?
I think he was like 10 of 16.
Okay. Nobody had splashy numbers.
No one had splashy numbers in that game. It was very underwhelming, both sides of the ball for the Vikings.
I think at the end of the day, though, whatever happens there, Kellen has opened up some eyes.
I think so, too.
I mean, maybe that wasn't – I didn't see the performance, but maybe that wasn't his best game. But obviously he feels, compared to last season at this time, the arrow's pointing up. He's trending in the right direction.
Yes, he definitely is. And if we're going to talk about our Aggie of the week is DeMarvin Leal. 2 tackles and a sack in a 16-15 win over the Jaguars. We talked about it last week again. He is performing really well at camp. The coaches are loving him, and he got the job done on Saturday, especially with getting that sack. And then last week got a forced fumble. He's a guy, again, a steal of a draft. However, if we were sitting here last year, we're talking about him being a top 8, top 10 pick, and Steelers again found a gem. What are you going to say about that?
Yeah, the Steelers, we said it last week also, but he just looks so right in that uniform.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that the others don't look great, but there's something about the pictures that he's been posting on his Twitter. Like, it just fits him correctly, and the color scheme works.
He's feeling dangerous.
Well, I mean, we knew. Like, when there was some of those, like, again, something that happens during the offseason from December to April is people have too much time on their hands, and they just try to find everything wrong with players, and there's combine time this, and just put on the film.
Thank you. Thank you. David Nuno, I've never agreed with anything more you've ever said on the show than that right there.
Well, it's the fact. Like, if you
watch the tape. I'm a big believer in that.
And watch the tape. And I think that about quarterbacks often, not as much now as the game has evolved, but like, if a guy's a winner and he has a knack for making game-winning plays, and he can, maybe he doesn't play in an he's more unorthodox, if you will. Whatever, I don't care. Does he make plays? Does he make the team better? Does he make game-saving tackles? Yes. Does he make game-bruising sacks? Yes. Does he do the things that you need? Too many people get into the analytics of it, and while that sounds good, stats sound great, that's not the whole story. Like going back to Buddy Johnson, does he make the plays that make you better?
Right. And that's the thing, especially like you said, quarterbacks. How many guys, let's think about, my example is going to be Sam Darnold coming out of USC. He wasn't good at USC. He didn't elevate his players, but he had the quarterback intangibles. The analytics say this guy's going to be a future all-pro quarterback. No, that's not the case. You want a guy who's a winner. You want a guy who's proved it at that level. If he couldn't prove it in college, what makes you think he's going to figure it out in the NFL?
How cool was yesterday with all the drama, Ben Carr making his run at the end, Sam having that nice lead, and then finishing it off?
Yeah, it's no question that the U.S. Amateur is the most prestigious amateur tournament in the entire country. And normally we don't get matches go all the way to the 36th hole. We've had Bryson win in the past. I think he won 6-5 back in 2015 at Olympia Fields. And for a minute there, it looked like Sam was going to run away with things. He stuck his final shot of the morning 18, came out, built a 5-up lead. But then Ben Hott gets hot with his putter. I thought Sam did a great job of kind of handling all those punches that Ben threw at him. And really, it wasn't surprising. For anyone who watched, you probably heard about the tough path that Sam had to go through just to get to the final. He beat the number 13 ranked amateur in the world, the number 27. Then in order, 10, 9, 8, and then finally Ben Carr was his easiest opponent at 70th in the world. So very, very deserving champion. This is a kid who's gritty. He's nailed. He's started on the college scene for a long time now, and I think, as he said yesterday, he earned this championship.
Yeah, he certainly did. I also found interesting is how similar paths both these gentlemen had to take, not just on the course, but just in life, as they both lost their parents over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate situation for them, but it can also be inspiring for those people watching. And I like to believe that everything happens for a reason, and the fact that we had these two kids with their stories and that common thread that they shared meet in the final. There's no surprise that there was a rainbow shining over after they both won their semifinal matches on Saturday. Ben Carr had a great story from that semifinal match where he had the ball marker that helps him remember his dad, David, who died unexpectedly 3 years ago. Lost the ball marker, or so he thought, at the beginning of that match on the 15th hole, looks at his pocket. All of a sudden, the ball marker is poking out of his pants. He reaches in, he finds it. So that was a sign. Sam Bennett obviously has the tattoo on the inside of his left arm that his dad, Mark, wrote as he was battling Alzheimer's right before he lost the ability to write. He died last summer. Sam really took that hard. For those who have followed him, he really doesn't wear his emotions on his sleeve as it pertains to his personal life, but he's gone through some very, very difficult times these last 13 months or so, and he's come out on the other side. And I think a big credit to that is Texas A&M head coach Brian Corton, who was on the bag this week, caddied for Sam. He calls him his best friend. Said he was often in his office at 8 a.m. Last season, almost every day, just talking about life, talking about golf, talking about girls, whatever. And so for Sam to overcome that, and then the special moment that him and Ben shared on that 18th hole where they both told each other, your dad would be proud of you. And as Sam said yesterday as well, if he couldn't win the U.S. Amateur and if his teammates who were there couldn't win it, he would have loved to have Ben Carr win that.
How about that chip on his shoulder, too? Not getting the due he deserved. He goes, they're all great players, but I'm a better player. I'm the dog in this race.
I compare Sammy. I've covered him for a few years now, and I think he has a little Brooks Koepka in him, in that he may create some of that on his own because he performs. When he has that chip on his shoulder, that's when he's at his best and when he's confident. And I loved it. His semifinal opponent, Dylan Minetti, gave it right back to him. Said that he was definitely going to get slow played, no matter if he played Bennett or Stuart Hagestad in the semis. So you got Sam Bennett on one end saying he's the dog in this race. He's the best player in the field. And you got Dylan saying that Sam's slow as heck. So, that's always fun because golf is not always that interesting. And so when we get some of that, on the links, it's pretty fun to watch.
One of your quarterbacks, they were saying Haynes threw 4 picks, and then, the Texas fans will go with that now for a month to distract from the clown show going on down there in terms of their selection. Haynes threw a pick, and I've said all along, and Damani made the interception, which is worth noting because he's had a hell of a fall camp, and I'm putting the over-under on picks for Damani at 3.5 this year. I think he can get his hand. Is he going to get it 4 interceptions and lead the team type of deal, or? But the quarterback battles. I've tried to say this to people, and they don't want to listen to me. It's been very good. None of the 3 quarterbacks would you say, man, they've struggled in camp. And rarely for more than a practice have I heard, well, so-and-so didn't do very good today. Each of the guys would get that said about him at some point in camp. But rarely would I hear that about Wigman, Johnson, or King multiple days in a row. And it always felt like if one of them had a bad day, they'd come back the next day and you'd hear them say, yeah, Wigman was really good today.
Right.
King threw a couple picks yesterday, came back, had his best practice. So it felt like that throughout. When I'm trying to handicap that, Saturday scrimmage is a tough one to do. People don't get, and if you want to worry about the O-line, you can, and that's the other path. I saw Longhorn saying, which is funny because they had the absolute, I almost cussed because it was that bad. Crappiest doesn't describe how bad. You'd almost have to use the form of crappiest that starts with an S. That's how bad their O-line was, like a steaming pile of it last season. I think A&M's going to have a good offensive line. Good by SEC standards, not good by Big 12 standards, good by SEC standards. Top 4 line in the league this year, and I don't know what the other 3 are going to look like, so they'll be in contention, I think, once it all settles. But you were without Foster and even Wyckoff, who has essentially been your starting center. Let's call it what it is. Wyckoff's been your starting center throughout the spring and really through most of fall camp. Bryce has just come back about a week ago, a little over a week ago, so he's getting his feet wet. Remember, missed all of spring as well. But I don't think Bryce, I don't know how much he even practiced, if at all, but Bryce, Wyckoff, Robinson got dinged up. Again, none of these seem serious at all, but Robinson got dinged up. Aggie got dinged up. So at one point in practice, whether you're talking Wyckoff or Bryce, you're without 3 of your 5 starting offensive linemen. You're without your whole interior O-line. And then somebody said, well, does that mean our backups aren't good? Well, no, your backups were the ones with the ones.
Right.
So then you had a second team of guys that, you probably throwing true freshmen out there at, if that, maybe not. So to go up against that A&M D-line without 3 starting O-linemen is a problem. And really, without 4 of your top 7 or 8 offensive linemen when you throw in Wyckoff,
What are we supposed to do?
Tap buttons, like, subscribe, pass it on, send it around to friends, tell them about it.
I want you to borrow
Social
a page.
media.
Borrow a page from my book. Just be happy.
Yeah, your book. I wrote the happy book.
I don't know.
Did I ripped a page out of it at least and said, hey, Nuno.
Look at this page.
Let's not just start every show
I was happy today.
triggered by some article.
Well, I'm glad.
I save my triggering for I let Twitter be my outlet for that, but not the show. Too much. There's too much to be fired the hell up about.
Well, I'm happy. I don't know about Billy.
Now, if we want to do we could do a thing every day where we set like an alarm siren, like,
when we complain about something.
when there's an article that has just got us just set off.
Well, hey, we're going to close it right here. But the problem is there's the off season with no games and we haven't been able to see practice. There's not a lot to talk about other than speculation and other people's speculation. But that's why I'm happy.
We just don't have to get so indignant.
Just don't argue
Take
with
it
me.
from me.
All right? Don't be more like Billy on Twitter. Don't argue with the people.
Happy go lucky.
Just give everybody a hug. All
You
right.
know, you look at where are you heading? North for the
I
winter?
got a meeting. Bye, guys.
Bye.